Let's talk about California. So policies. Danny, I want you to think about this as well because, you know, in business, incentive, how much you get paid. We have a lot of business owners here. Everybody that's here right now is a member of the club. So to be a member here, this is not a public club. This is a private club. They're business owners. They're successful at what they do. Can you pull up Chamath's tweet for me? I'm trying to really understand the logic behind this, okay? So Chamath, for some of you guys that don't know, he is on the All In podcast with the crew. I think it's him, David, and then you have Jason, and there's also, is it
David Friedberg?
Right. Okay, so all of them successful in their own right. They've done very well for themselves. Chamath says right here, people I know with a collective net worth of $500 billion scrambled and left California for good yesterday. Folks, $500 billion left on December 31st. These are friends of his. He knows these people. He's invested in a lot of these companies. They took no risk because of the proposed asset seizure tax introduced as a billionaire tax. Without these people, the California budget deficit will only get bigger. This hole gets filled in one of two ways: more borrowing from the bond market, who is purely financial and unforgiving, or more taxes on everyone else. Meanwhile, waste, fraud, and abuse runs rampant from the hundreds of billions in revenues the state already collects. Danny, you're a sports guy. You guys make a lot of money in sports, right? I mean, you play. I remember when LeBron was coming from Cleveland to Miami. He's like, look, all that money you're going to save in taxes. You know, now you go to California, you pay the 13.3%. We're now in the state of Florida. You're also now in the state of Florida. We love the state of Florida. How do you process this when a guy who's a billionaire, whose friends are all billionaires, many of them are, says, why would a Newsom, the governor of California, even think about this idea? A few weeks ago, they pushed it to the attorney general. I think they need 875,000 signatures by spring of 2026 to be able to be on the ballot. The state has 199 billionaires. It's got 40 billion people that are not billionaires, and it only impacts the 199 people. So how do you process this yourself, Danny?
They're going with the company line of tax the rich, which is what a lot of their constituents want them to do. At Mondani's swearing in today, we heard them chanting tax the rich. And I think what Newsom is trying to do is pander to the wider voting base as opposed to catering to the capitalist and the pro-business people that are actually the ones that could do a lot more for the state. So I think he's trying to do it for his base on the left there in California, which has always leaned left.
Tom, where are you at with this?
Well, first of all, I think there's a little bit of a sleight of hand that's going on right here, because people like Ro Khanna and other are about to disavow creation. And what I mean by that is this tax is a ballot initiative. It's not being brought to the state assembly or the state senate, state government. It is a ballot initiative that's being brought by SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, and a secondary labor union that's primarily government workers. So they're going to get the signatures that they need to put on the ballot through these two mega unions. Remember, SEIU was the big union that used to carry Harry Reid every year in Nevada. And the rumor was that it was a union guy that blackened Harry Reid's eye the time that he got the black eye that he couldn't explain. He said he fell off a treadmill. True story. Well, those unions have brought it forward. So Ro Khanna and everybody is like, no, this is the Union Workers of America. Union Workers of America, they're here in California speaking their mind and putting forth the ballot initiative. Yeah, buddy, who wrote it? Who put it there? So it's a little bit of sleight of hand the way they're getting it on the ballot so that the politicians can step back and say, oh, it's just hardworking union folks that are on there. But this is, make no mistake, this is with the fingerprint and good graces of Ro Khanna and of Gavin Newsom. They need it because the budget in California has a big hole in it. It's due to fraud, it's due to wildfires, it's due to a lot of different things, not just fraud, some of the circumstance that's happened to California, and they need to fill the hole. But the interesting thing, they call it a billionaire's tax. I read it. I read the whole thing. Incredibly bored over holiday break. And I tell you, there's language in here. It allows them to go to millionaires. It allows them to go to other places. This is be a precedent-setting thing so that California could basically edict a temporary or one-time asset seizure that can be defined by the government when necessary under this if it goes through on the ballot. That's what I think about it.
Now,
I think it really stinks.
If I'm not mistaken, in his district, within a 50-mile radius, there is 4 or 5 trillion-dollar companies, $15 trillion of company. I think a third of, if I'm not mistaken, a third of the stock market is in his district.
Or a third of the S&P, but yeah,
The
he
third of the
talks about
S&P,
that.
a third of the S&P is in his district, and those are the people you're working for, and you want to go tax those guys. And then Chamath is saying, look, by the way, here's what's crazy about it. They left, Tom, without even knowing whether this is going to pass or not. So them leaving, what are they saying? They're betting and saying, I think it's going to pass. I'm out of here. You know, all those guys are talking to each other anyways. Stephen A., for you, when it comes down to policies, I love how earlier Stephen A. said, if I had real money. Just so everybody knows, Stephen A. doesn't make minimum wage, folks. I mean, Stephen A. makes 20 plus, not thousand, like million. He makes very well. But to him, he's thinking billions. He's thinking big. He wants to get to whatever the next level may be to him. For yourself, when you're looking at this, at the beginning, you know how we all are coming up in our careers. And we're like, who cares about taxes? Who cares about... When was the moment for you, Stephen A., where you said, oh my God, I better start paying attention to taxes and where I want to create my wealth?
1993.
93.
I'm a high school sports writer for the New York Daily News. My salary was $53,500 a year.
In 83.
1993.
93.
1993.
Still a lot of money.
I had started out, I was working at the Greensboro News and Record and stuff like that as an editorial assistant out of college, and I was making $15,300 a year. So a few months later, when I got this job in New York, $53,500 a year, I'm like, I was ecstatic. And I saw my first check. And half my money was gone. And it was New York state taxes, and it was New York City taxes. It was the first time I ever paid attention to FICA, because I didn't know what the hell that was. And I said, oh, damn. And then it elevated even more so approximately 15 years later, because by this time I'm at the ESPN, and they got me spending some time in California. And so I got a taste of California's taxes. And I was like, this is for the birds. I mean, what the hell is this?
This, by the way, so you experienced New York and California.
Oh, yes.
What's more
Oh, yes.
painful?
I would tell you California, here's the reason why. First of all, it's more, because New York was at around 9%. California was approaching 13%. Now they're at 13.6%. If Gavin Newsom had his way, it'd be about 16.8%. See, these are things that I've been paying attention to. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, you got California state tax, you got Los Angeles city tax, you got LA county tax, and then here was what really, really did it. This happened to me 2 years ago. They said, look, because I was going to have to spend some more time out there, they got me doing NBA Countdown, and they decided that we were going to do NBA Countdown more so from LA than any place else. Okay, fine. So every time I'm in the state of California, I'm getting taxed that day. And so I'm sitting down with my estate planners and all of that, and they said, look, when the weekend arrives, it would be in your best interest to go to Vegas or to Utah or something. I said, why? And they said, well, if you stay in California, you know, IRS, they ping your phone. So anytime you get a call or you're on the phone, they know that you're in the state.
Wow.
And that counts as a day. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And sure enough, when I saw my tax returns, it was absolutely correct. And that's why I said, you know, I remember years later, man, you know, it was a couple of years ago, I look at Gavin Newsom, who I've spoken to a couple of times, and I'm like, you know, you look beautiful in those blue suits. You look very presidential. Ain't get my vote.
You told him this.
Yeah, damn right. Because these damn taxes. You know, now, if you're talking about moving to the center instead of vibing with the left, because as we talk about all of this stuff that's going on in California, even though he's categorically denying it, he's a part of this pursuit of $100 billion. You know, well, I think it's 100 million. I'm sorry, instead of 100 billion. The point is that whatever the number is, you're trying to go to billionaires to get the money from them. Well, billionaires have proven they know how to make money, which means you, with this debt, why should they think about giving you money? Because what will you do with it? Like, they were like, wait a minute, if anything, come to us for help, peel knowledge from us so we can educate you on how not to lose money for the rails, for the wildfires and the donations that poured in and now the money's missing and all of this other stuff. That's what they're saying. And I think that there's a legitimacy that comes with that people who make money and know how to make money being appalled by somebody, whether it's a cadre of people or whatever, being appalled by the notion that you would come to them to make up for your ineptitude. That's what the state of California is doing right now. And why would Newsom do that? Why would he be a part of it? Whether he admits it or denies it or whatever, here's the reason why. Because he's trying to run in 2028. And if you lock in the progressives and you believe that that's what's going to win you the nomination, then all you have to concern yourself with is the other side instead of the candidates that you have to go against in the primaries. And this is what we're looking at here. And so I see all of that kind of stuff, and I go back to my dollars and cents. I'm paying attention to that because, ladies and gentlemen, nothing's free. No matter what they tell you, nothing is free. The money is coming from somewhere. And a lot of folks out there are convinced that's just not true. 1% of the population in the state of California is paying more than 33% of the taxes. That's not going to last. That's not going to hold water. And it's certainly not going to be applicable to the United States of America, what's going on in the state of California.
Powerful. 1% pays 33.
More than 33%. It's actually closer to 40.
For the state of California. By the way,
state of California.
Some of that also applies to the entire country, but California probably a bigger percentage because they got the most billionaires. They're number one. I think New York is number two with 127 billionaires, which is now Mamdani. When we set out to create a shoe that blends comfort, function, and luxury, we had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.